Jeff Chandler, born Ira Grossel on December 15, 1918 in Brooklyn, New York, grew up in a Jewish household shaped by resilience, tradition, and storytelling. From an early age, he was drawn to performance, fascinated by the way actors could communicate emotion and meaning through voice and presence alone. That fascination matured during his years at Erasmus Hall High School, a school known for nurturing artistic ambition, where Chandler refined his confidence and discipline. After serving in World War II, he pursued acting seriously, determined to transform passion into profession. His journey was not immediate or easy, but it was driven by patience and self-belief. When he signed with Universal Pictures in the mid-1940s, Chandler brought with him not just ambition, but a grounded sense of identity that would shape his performances and define his brief yet powerful career during Hollywood's golden age. Stardom, forged through talent, not illusion. Chandler's early film roles showcased a commanding screen presence that set him apart from many studio-era leading men. His breakthrough came with Sword in the Desert in 1949, followed by his defining role as Cochise in Broken Arrow in 1950. That performance, dignified and emotionally layered, challenged Hollywood stereotypes and earned him an Academy Award nomination. Chandler became known for bringing humanity and restraint to characters that might otherwise have been one-dimensional. Throughout the 1950s, he built a reputation as a reliable leading man in westerns and dramas, starring in films such as Female on the Beach, The Tattered Dress, and Man in the Shadow. His appeal rested not on glamour alone, but on emotional credibility. Audiences trusted him. He projected strength without cruelty and authority without arrogance, qualities that made his performances feel authentic and enduring. A private man in a public industry off-screen, Jeff Chandler lived a life marked by responsibility and privacy. In 1946, he married Marjorie Hoschel, and together they raised 2 daughters. Chandler valued family deeply and worked hard to shield his home life from Hollywood intrusion. Unlike many contemporaries, he avoided excessive publicity and industry excess, preferring quiet routines and loyalty to his inner circle. His physical stature and rugged appearance made him a natural star, but those who knew him often described a gentle, thoughtful man behind the image. Chandler's friendships were few but meaningful, and he placed great importance on trust. In an industry built on illusion, he prized sincerity. That contrast between public persona and private values would later make moments of personal conflict especially painful, not only because of professional consequences, but because they clashed with his deeply held sense of integrity. Friendship and respect in a competitive world. During the filming of As Young as You Feel in 1951, Chandler developed a close friendship with Marilyn Monroe. Their connection was rooted in mutual understanding rather than romance. Both were navigating studio pressure, image management, and relentless scrutiny. While rumors inevitably followed, both consistently maintained that their relationship was platonic. Those who worked with them described genuine warmth and easy conversation between the two. The friendship highlighted Chandler's ability to form respectful bonds without exploiting publicity. He was not drawn to spectacle for its own sake. Instead, he valued emotional honesty, even when circumstances invited speculation. This pattern would repeat throughout his career. Chandler's reputation among peers was that of a man who took relationships seriously, which made later personal upheavals feel less like scandal and more like deeply human missteps within a complicated, pressure-filled environment. Hollywood relationships. Under strain. By the mid-1950s, Hollywood was still an unforgiving place for personal vulnerability. Studio contracts blurred boundaries between work and private life, often placing actors in intense, emotionally charged environments. Chandler was no exception. While filming projects that demanded long hours and close collaboration, personal relationships could become strained. It was during this period that his marriage began to experience difficulties, a reality not uncommon among working actors of the era. Rather than framing these struggles as moral failure, it is more accurate to understand them as the result of sustained pressure, distance, and emotional exhaustion. Chandler was not immune to mistakes, but those who knew him emphasized that he carried the weight of them heavily. He was not a man who dismissed consequences lightly, especially when they affected family and personal honor. The Esther Williams controversy. Revisited carefully. Much later, narratives emerged linking Chandler to Esther Williams during a film collaboration in the late 1950s. Over time, these stories became exaggerated, emotionally charged, and often contradictory. What can be said responsibly is that both actors were navigating complicated personal situations while working within a studio system that encouraged proximity and discouraged emotional clarity. Chandler's marriage ended in divorce in 1957, a painful chapter that affected all involved. Some later accounts frame Williams as deliberately disruptive, while others relied on personal recollections shaped by time and emotion. Chandler himself never publicly attacked Williams, and many of the most inflammatory claims appeared years later, often disputed by colleagues. Responsible history requires acknowledging conflict without assigning simplified blame. What remains clear is that the situation caused Chandler deep distress and contributed to lasting resentment, rooted not in hatred, but in disappointment and personal loss. Disputed claims and the importance of context. In her autobiography, Esther Williams made claims about Chandler that many of his friends strongly rejected. Several colleagues, including Jane Russell, publicly defended his character, emphasizing his professionalism and integrity. These rebuttals matter not to discredit Williams' feelings, but to illustrate how memory, perspective, and personal pain can shape narratives differently. Chandler was widely regarded as respectful, reserved, and traditionally masculine in demeanor, making some allegations seem inconsistent with how he was known by peers. Hollywood history is filled with conflicting accounts, especially when personal relationships are filtered through time, publicity, and unresolved emotion. The truth often exists somewhere between perspectives. What is certain is that Chandler did not live long enough to respond, making it all the more important to treat such claims with balance, restraint, and respect for complexity rather than sensational certainty. Physical pain. Behind the performance, beyond emotional strain, Jeff Chandler lived with chronic physical pain stemming from a spinal injury linked to his military service. He worked through discomfort for years, refusing to let illness define his output. Colleagues noted his determination and refusal to complain, even as pain increasingly affected his daily life. Medical understanding and treatment options at the time were limited, and Chandler continued performing while managing symptoms privately. His resilience on set masked serious health concerns that would later prove fatal. The discipline that defined his career also defined how he faced suffering, quietly and without self-pity. This physical burden adds essential context to his later years, reminding us that his struggles were not only emotional or relational, but deeply physical, compounding stress and limiting recovery at a tragically young age. A sudden and shattering loss. On June 17, 1961, Jeff Chandler died at just 42 years old due to complications following spinal surgery. The news stunned Hollywood. At an age when many actors were entering their most mature creative phase, Chandler's life ended abruptly. Tributes emphasized not only his talent, but his decency and professionalism. His death left unfinished projects and unspoken words, freezing public understanding of him at a moment of unresolved narrative. Without decades of interviews or late-life reflection, his legacy relies heavily on those who knew him and the work he left behind. The brevity of his life lends poignancy to both his achievements and his personal struggles. He was a star who never had the chance to age into reassessment or redemption, making thoughtful historical treatment especially important. Legacy beyond conflict and rumor. Jeff Chandler is remembered today not for controversy, but for presence, restraint, and quiet strength. His performances endure because they were grounded in sincerity rather than spectacle. While personal conflicts and disputed stories form part of his history, they do not define it. Chandler's life reflects the cost of pressure, the fragility of reputation, and the complexity of human relationships within Hollywood's golden age. He was neither saint nor villain, but a talented man navigating fame, family, pain, and expectation. In reassessing his story with care, we honor not only his work, but the dignity with which he carried himself through both success and hardship. His legacy remains that of a true Hollywood leading man whose humanity was as compelling as his talent.